Thank you. We are now live, folks, so Michael Burns, I'll let you kick us off.
Okay, thanks, Derrick. This is the meeting of the Moorhead EDA for August 3rd, and I call the meeting to order. Amy, would you please read the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Present today includes Michael Burns, Chad Koda, Alex Cusa, Pat Kovash, Bobby Soline, and Deb White.
Thank you. Are there any agenda amendments?
Mr. Chair, there's no agenda amendments, but we do want to make note to those folks that are on the call here that Zach Hiring did resign from the EDA board. He had a role change with his employment, and just with some time commitments and family commitments was no longer able to fully participate with the EDA. So we wanted to thank Zach, and Zach was an appointment of Ward 4. So Steve Lindos, Councilmember Steve Lindos and Chuck Hendrickson will work to get another appointment for that empty slot. So thank you, Zach. Really appreciate your time and service.
Yes, thanks to him for serving. Moving on, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve. Deb White.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
State your name,
I
please.
think that was Chad Koda.
Chad.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do you want to take a roll, just to be sure?
Sure. Michael Burns,
Aye.
Chad Koda,
Aye.
Alex Cusa, Alex Cusa, Pat Kovash,
Aye.
Bobby Soline,
Aye.
Deb White.
Aye.
Motion
Motion's
passes.
approved. Thank you. Any citizens addressing the board?
To our knowledge, there's nobody on the call from the public, so no comments.
Thank you. Commissioners' reports. Pat?
Mike, I'll give a quick NBA update here. The tradition continued with the biggest event in Moorhead. Our Plan B 4th of July fireworks was a big success. We'd really like to thank the City of Moorhead for the approval of the Horizon Shores Park for the launch area. The drive up and tune into Bob 95 was a big hit for the community. It really helped even bring more of the Fargo people in, so that was a good success. Our 5th annual NBA golf tournament on the 15th of July with social distancing was a great success. We had 81 players that took part in the tournament at the Meadows course, and you know, it's just so nice with everything that's going on to be able to put on a few events that just make things seem. So, I mean, just really important stuff. We'd like to thank the Chamber for the distribution of the disposable masks to the Moorhead businesses. So, the NBA created the Facebook site, Support Moorhead Restaurants and Bars, Support Moorhead Businesses, and Moorhead Alliance of Nonprofits. Please like, comment, and share. And we're just trying to encourage people to eat local, shop local, buy local, drink local, and enjoy local support of local businesses who support the area where we live and play. We are not going to have our Bridge Bash this year. There's just too much. We're just not sure that it's going to be worth it. So we'll be planning on that for the 21st. Our diversity job fair that we have going on September 23rd is going to be a virtual job fair. But still, you know, something important that we still need to do. We need to try to help these employers bring people on. We're still looking at having Frostival. Hopefully we're a long ways down the road by then, and you know, we'll be able to have that event. So, and then, you know, we're all together in this. We're Moorhead proud and we're Moorhead strong.
Thank you, Pat. Anyone have any questions or responses that they'd like to voice for Pat? Okay, hearing none. Any other reports? Moving on, the review of the revenue bond request for Solutions Behavioral Healthcare Professionals. Derrick, do you want to?
Actually, I think John Shockley or Jim Stewart that are on the call are going to take this one.
Okay, thank you. John?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. So what we have before us is a request of behavioral solutions, and I believe Jim Stewart, who is representing them, is on the line. They are asking the EDA to be the conduit issuer under a tax-exempt bond. Under the IRS tax code, an issuer that is that has nonprofit status can take advantage of issuing a tax-exempt bond by utilizing a conduit issuer such as the EDA. The advantage to the entity is that they are able to achieve a lower cost of capital by reducing the interest rate on their bonds being issued. As part of the tax code requirement, there's a requirement to hold a public hearing. And if anybody from the public has any objections, they certainly can voice their objections. This is pretty standard, what Moorhead EDA has done in the past for local businesses. We try to have a business or representative from the business on the line so as to answer any basic questions regarding what they're doing or what they would be doing. But this is really authorizing moving forward with the public hearing and the approval subject to the public hearing.
Thank you. Any questions of John? So is there a motion to approve the preliminary resolution for this request for a public hearing?
So moved, Chad Koda.
Thanks,
Second,
Shen.
Pat Kovash.
Okay. A motion's on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Or let's take a roll on this. Sorry, Amy.
All right, Michael Burns,
Aye.
Chad Koda,
Aye.
Alex Cusa,
Aye.
Pat Kovash,
Aye.
Bobby Soline,
Aye.
Deb White.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion pass.
Thank you, everyone. Motion carried. Item number 7. Is this something that you care to share with us, Derrick?
Yep, thanks, Michael. So we have a recommendation from the Macara Review Board. This is for AP Concrete. They're doing site improvements and new construction at 4125 32nd Avenue South. This was a privately held site, so not a city-owned site that we typically would see in the industrial park. But AP Concrete has acquired it, looking to construct a 8,600 square foot building, employing 6 to 8 people. Their company is initially kind of got its start out of Barnesville. So looking to kind of expand their presence here in Moorhead, obviously seeing a lot of work in this area. And as a part of the Macara Review Board, any new uses need to be reviewed per the covenants. We did bring this again to the Macara review on July 27th with unanimous approval, and the EDA has the final authority on this. So be happy to answer any questions, but we're looking for final approval from the EDA today.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Pat Kovash.
Second, Deb White, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, Amy, would you take a roll, please?
Certainly. Michael Burns,
Aye.
Chad Koda,
Aye.
Alex Cusa,
Aye.
Pat Kovash,
Aye.
Bobby Soline,
Aye.
Deb White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Motion carried. All right. Next on the agenda is the coronavirus relief funding, the CARES Act update. Derrick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I won't get into a whole lot of the details on this particular attachment that you all have. The attachment that you have is something that was put together by Lisa Bodie as well as some other staff members here at City Hall. What basically it is the city of Moorhead received about $3.3 million from the federal CARES funding. Money came from the U.S. Treasury to the states. The states then allocated money to local governments that included cities and counties that needed to be requested. So Moorhead received about $3.3 million, and the county, Clay County, received about $7.8 million. There's eligible uses of these funds. Certain local expenses that could be allocated as well. So you'll see some of these municipal expenses, some disaster relief expenses, unemployment expenses. There's also separate funds that were applied for that kind of get grouped into this whole bucket, but mass transit had a separate fund, community block grant, and the airport as well. What I wanted to make this group aware of is specifically looking at about $2 million out of that $3.3 million. That's being set aside for local business assistance. And what we're trying to accomplish is mimic a program that was created by the state, the Small Business Economic Relief Grants. That may sound familiar to many. I think I gave an update on that the last time we got together. This is a small business grant up to $10,000 that the state put on. They had limited funds with it, so it was a randomly selected lottery that was put into play. We took a lot of the same characteristics of that particular grant program and tried to loop it into what meets our local needs. So specifically looking at some characteristics of removing the residency requirement that the state had. Obviously, we have a lot of businesses that are located here in Moorhead, but they may have their primary home residency in Fargo or elsewhere. So we wanted to remove that residency requirement and also look at including some community organizations and money set aside for sole proprietors and independent contractors. So we're still in the kind of the formation of this grant. We had initial kind of just process approval from the City Council last week. That opened up a public engagement, online public engagement process that closes today at midnight. So if you haven't done that, please take a look and complete that tonight. I think we've had over 200 responses, give or take. Some of it's are yes or no questions, which we've got great feedback on. Some of them are written comments, so we're sifting through all that. And we'd like to present a option for this grant at the next council meeting, August 10th. So tons of admin with this, very, very quick timelines on this funding as well. For example, the funds need to be out of City Hall into the business's hands by November 15th. So very, very quick timeline for us. If we don't spend the money in time, it reverts back to the county, and then the county, I think, has an additional 45 days. If they don't spend it, it goes back to the state. So we are trying everything we can to keep this money within our local economy and ultimately get it in the hands of our businesses to help them in a very challenging time. So again, not a ton of detail that we have quite yet to share, but stay tuned for later this week and certainly at Monday's City Council meeting to see a more robust presentation on what this grant program will look like. With that, be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Derrick, I have a question. So how are you guys working with Clay County, and how is Clay County planning on using their funding?
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Thanks for the question. I forgot to mention that, yes, we are working very closely with Clay County. They obviously have a larger chunk of money. They too are looking to kind of break it up on what their qualified expenses are. I think they made a presentation last week. They have 6 different categories or 6 different buckets that they're looking to use it. Some of it could be more social service type aspects of it. But they did look to set aside about $2.5 million to support a business kind of grant that goes throughout the county. We are looking to kind of use the grant that we've kind of formed here and basically ripping off the state's grant, but using it to kind of unify those smaller communities that may not have economic development staff or the resources to create such program, but use this as a model that could be used without the county or throughout the county. And they would be able to support that through some of the funding that they've received as well. So yes, we are. There's, again, a lot of details to work out as far as how the online application shares between, city versus the entire county, how the admin looks of it, how the distribution of the funds looks. So lots of conversations happening and how this can all play together. The biggest thing that that I kind of stressed early on, and I was able to have conversations with the county early on, was that we didn't want to create confusion with having multiple relief programs out there. There was enough kind of grants or loans or all sorts of things that have been happening over these last few months that I think really confused the businesses. So for us, it was a matter of keeping this simple and could they just support the programs that were being created at the local level? And I think that's where we're coming to right now.
And Derrick, where can we find the comments section again?
Yeah, so I don't have the exact website off the top of my head. Maybe Amy can try to find it here. But if you just go to the City of Moorhead's homepage, there's a link on the news section, and you'll find it on the homepage of where you can provide that feedback. It's a very simple survey. Again, had numerous hundreds of responses so far. So we're very pleased with that. Looking forward to seeing more by that deadline tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Derrick Lapoint here. I had a question. Since on the North Dakota side, there's the ERG, Economic Resiliency Grant. How similar or not similar it is? And the reason why I ask is I've been fortunate to be sitting on a couple training by Michelle Cromer, Courtney Jensen, basically the team over there. And I was wondering, is it going to be completely different, or is it a fair assumption to think that it's going to be the same criteria, same approach to how our businesses can have access to it, like first come, first serve? Like, how relevant or not relevant is the two sides of the river? Thank you.
Yeah, I would say similar enough, but I think we have greater flexibility because we control this at the local level. So we're tailoring this program specifically to us. Now, we don't have as much funding probably to spread it, but we are looking at businesses that are 20 employees, full-time equivalent employees or under, looking at grants up to $10,000. And then we'd have a separate category for sole proprietors, independent contractors at up to $3,000. We'd also look at setting aside some money for community organizations, nonprofits, such as 501c3s and C19s. So it's similar enough. Won't be obviously the exact same, but we tried to replicate the state's application because, quite frankly, there was 30,000 applicants to the state of Minnesota's economic relief grant just a month ago. And the businesses should have that information on hand. It's not asking them to recreate something. It's, hey, simply provide the information that you had provided to the state, and we'll process from there. So there's still some conversation of whether it should be first come, first serve, or as you may have heard, I said up to 10,000 or up to 3,000. There's been a lot of conversation of if we get larger amounts of applicants than we expect, that maybe we lower that grant amount to say, $7,500 per small business, or $1,500 per sole proprietor nonprofit. So that way it gets spread to as many businesses as we can across the city. So there's still some conversation on that. Obviously, the administration of this is such a big chunk of it. So we're just trying to make sure, again, we meet those deadlines and we get that money out the door by November 15th. Hopefully that answers your question.
So this program really doesn't become available until the 11th of August, correct?
That would be the best case scenario if everything goes smoothly at council. More than likely, I would expect maybe a week after that, so we get some marketing out there, we get the word out, because we'd probably have an application window of about 2 weeks. So we want to give people some time to prepare and obviously get the word out so they're ready to go and apply.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chair, if I could just make a comment too?
Sure, go ahead.
Thanks, Derek. And one of the things I appreciated is you said, you're really working on having this address some of the gaps that we've seen in other funding sources. And going back to that point you made about it, looking at providing support for businesses that have 20 or fewer. And if I recall from council too, you mentioned that we have a very large number of businesses that fall in that category, and they've kind of slipped through the cracks a bit. And I would think most of those are ones that are locally owned too. And so if you have an idea of just anything you can say about that in terms of numbers, I know we have a hard time sometimes even determining how many of those businesses we have locally, but it seems like it's a large number of them. And again, ones that are really grounded right in our community. And, we really want to make sure that we keep those.
Yeah, it's very difficult to estimate how many applicants we'd receive. We're using information from our border cities programs, our workers' compensation program, et cetera, but the categories don't fit as simply as you'd expect, right? I mean, it's usually 10 to 50 employees, or there's all these little different buckets. So we're making some assumptions. We know that through the state's program, and I'm blanking on the percentage, but I want to say it was over 75% of the applicants for the state grant were businesses with 6 or fewer employees. So very focused on the small business side of things. Yeah, we obviously have an advantage to obviously receive these funds, but we know there's a lot of industries struggling. We know that it's not just small business too, but we gotta start somewhere. We'd love to spread it as much as we possibly can, but we know that certainly the businesses 20 or fewer and some of these nonprofits are the ones that have really been hit the hardest, and I want to make sure that we get them some dollars designated from the federal government to support these small businesses. So we're thankful that we have the funds, and now we get the hard work to try to figure out how to spend it, right?
All right, any other questions regarding this? Moving on, let's move into the budget. Is that something that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, so the only thing I'll say on this, because obviously you note that Dan is not here today. He's acting city manager is on family vacation right now. But as he noted the last EDA meeting, he wanted to make sure that you received a budget. So you had a chance to see it. That's what you have before you today. There's no action today. It's basically making sure that you have this in your hands. Feel free to email Dan and/or Amy with questions, and then we'd be looking to have approval of this budget at the August 31st EDA meeting, the next EDA meeting. And I will note that is a different date. We did change it. It was in the beginning of September, but because of Labor Day, we did change that to be August 31st. So note that. We will send a reminder. But today, it's just basically making sure you have this and take time to review it, and then come back with questions via email or phone to Amy or Dan. So that's all I have for that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, quick comment on that. Would it be possible, I'm sure we could go back in the minutes and find last year's, but would it be possible to have that sent out to us just for folks that want to do a side-by-side comparison of this year's and last year? Or is it,
Yeah.
look there, or do you have it in there already?
It's in there already.
It's in there
Okay,
already.
thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, sorry, I should have, as soon as I started saying it, then I realized that. Thanks.
But
Thanks, Amy.
maybe I'll have Amy just send out a reminder of that the budget is attached if you have questions, and then note that meeting change. So you'll see an email from Amy in the next couple days about that.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's your turn again, Derrick.
I'm up. Keep rolling the dice here. So I really only have probably 3 things that I want to focus on in the economic development report. A ton of time has been set aside to this COVID CARES dollars and how we're creating some of these programs. So that's been priority 1, and quite frankly will be priority 1 for quite a while here, just because we need to get that money out the door in that tight time frame. But I know Pat mentioned it. I do want to make aware that the state of Minnesota did distribute masks to our local chambers of commerce. Being the Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, received an allotment, I think, of 28,000 masks, and that is for the entire Clay County. So right now, businesses can request those masks, and you can obviously set up a time to pick up those. I think as of this morning, I just heard from the chamber, I think they have 16,000 masks still available. So please share with folks if you need masks, or if you are aware of businesses that are truly customer probably facing to start, make that request to the chamber, because they are free, they are from the state, and we want to make sure that these businesses have them. So, so far, I really haven't heard too many issues with the mask mandate from the state and from our businesses. I think people are understanding of the situation and wanting to protect each other. I think we're seeing more people across the river, or more businesses across the river in Fargo, take that additional step to require a mask as well. So I think it's just the way of life here, and we're all adjusting. But again, want to make sure that people take advantage of those free masks. I want, just like most things at the state, you never know if the state pulls those back and finds another area is needing more. We don't want to lose that resource. So please share that with your friends and your colleagues, and make those requests. The other thing I'll mention is two different things. One, we had the DEED Small Business Emergency Loan Program. That was something that's been out there a while back. DEED just released the names and the regions and the cities of where those businesses are that receive the funds. There were a total of 4 Moorhead businesses that received the Small Business Emergency Loan. So I just wanted to note that. And then, as I mentioned, the DEED Small Business Relief Grants, that was $62 million that was set aside across the state. $31 million was set aside for Greater Minnesota, grants up to $10,000. There was 30,000 applicants for only 6,000 grants across the state. So significant representation in the applications that were submitted. We've been told that a total of 267 businesses were pre-selected in that randomly selected lottery within the West Central region. So within our West Central region for DEED, which it's a large territory, I'll just say. I think we're going all the way down to St. Cloud, right, Amy?
I think so, yep.
It's all the way to St. Cloud, kind of up to Moorhead here, a little bit north and south. So large territory, 267 businesses were pre-selected. So my best guess is that we'd maybe have 10 businesses that get a grant here in Moorhead. And that's why it's so crucial, I think, for us to get this grant program right for us here in Moorhead, because the overwhelming majority of folks here, of our businesses here, cannot assume another loan. It is a grant assistance that they need to survive. And that's why I think you saw so many people apply for this DEED grant. So we're looking forward to rolling that out and learning more of who ultimately got pre-selected here in Moorhead for that grant. With that, be happy to answer any questions, or if there's other comments that individuals have. Continue to send out state information weekly from our state calls. Obviously, the school announcement last week is on the forefront of so many, not only just residents here, but a lot of businesses and the employee standpoint of how that's going to kind of work here in our region. So we're following the school announcements very closely. And yeah, I'll stop there if there's any questions or comments.
Mr. Chair?
No, go ahead.
Sure, thanks. I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate Derrick on being selected for the Minnesota Chamber Leadership Lab. And, I think that's a great opportunity, but glad to have him representing us. So no question, just that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I thank Lisa Borgen. She's the one that pulled some strings to get me in.
So QSA here. Derrick, earlier you mentioned that 501c3 and C19s were included in the resiliency grant. Regarding masks, is it the same where if people have nonprofit based on the Moorhead side, and obviously they're facing some of the communities they're serving, can they also request some mask, or what's the criteria here?
So I'll just say with the mask, reach out to the chamber. They receive specific guidance from the state on who can receive that. I know they created a little easy to follow kind of thing. I can't remember all the details with it, but reach out to the chambers, check the chamber's webpage. We also shared some things on social media between Sherry Larson and myself. So check that out. I know it's not overly complicated of who's requesting. I think they just want to make sure that you're a Minnesota-based or a Clay County-based organization or business, and they'll set up that distribution for you. So I think that's the only stipulation is the state of Minnesota provided these masks to go towards Clay County businesses and nonprofits or businesses and organizations. So just make sure you check with the chamber. I know they'd be more than willing to help.
Any other questions? Okay, just keep in mind if you're interested in any updates on the building permit situation, that's available online. And also, as a last reminder, our next meeting is August 31st. And as Derrick already said, we'll be all getting reminders of that date change. So with that, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.